If you want to get more leads from Google, I'm going to explain exactly how to do it in this video. Because the truth is, if your phone isn't ringing, it's not that SEO doesn't work, it's that you might be approaching it with the wrong strategy. My name's Sam. I've spent the last 3 years doing nothing but local SEO, especially for contractors. And the secret is simple. Google isn't grading your little tricks and hacks that you think you're doing. It's matching businesses to real local searches. In this video, I'll give you 5 non-obvious lessons that top local brands understand that most of your competitors don't. And so let's jump right into it with lesson 1. Local SEO isn't about tricks, it's about intent. At this point, my team has done local SEO for dozens of industries, and what we've learned is that the primary keyword for most businesses is service, city, state. So it's something like kitchen remodel, Boulder, Colorado, or AC repair, Scottsdale, Arizona. Does that make sense? When somebody is searching for that page, what they're expecting to see is what's called a service page. It's a page that's addressing their pain points and talks about the service you provide, why you're better than the competition. Now, there's a little bit of nuance to that, so stick with me. The key to having a good service page is letting the user know that their intent has been matched. And so it should be very obvious that this is a page for AC repair in Scottsdale or whatever your service is and wherever you're located. But it should be very clear to the user that you're located in their area. Now, I want to get a little technical here when we talk about intent, because I think when people think about trying to show up on Google, they think they have to exactly say their keywords. You see, a long time ago, like 10 years ago, the only way Google could show a search result is if you exactly said the right words. But actually, a long time ago, they switched the way they match searches, and it has to do with semantic search, which really just means they look at the words and they match what's the intent. And so when someone's looking up something like roof repair, Napier, Illinois, that means that they want a local business that does roof repair in their area. Google can understand that. So it's not about exact match anymore. It's about intent match. And so it's not so important that you just keep saying roof repair on your page over and over again. You want to explain to Google that you know how to handle this, but you also want to talk to the humans. So that's the first lesson. Remember that it's not so much about getting the keywords on the page, although that is still important, but it's more about matching the intent with a quality service page. And that brings me to lesson 2. AI tools cannot fix a bad strategy. All right, let's be real. Everybody's obsessed with AI. I've been using it basically since the day it came out. So I feel like I have 2.5 years of experience. And at this point, we're inundated with like AI slop of Sora and VO3 videos, which are kind of fun to watch when you're scrolling through Instagram or YouTube shorts. But at the end of the day, is it really helpful for SEO? The short answer is yes, is if you know how to use these AI tools, it can be helpful. The most important thing you need to know about AI tools is that they don't necessarily have access to live keyword research data. Okay, these tools have gotten a lot better. They can go out and do a search. They can kind of look at your website at this point, but there's certain things that they still can't do. Think about it this way. If you don't connect Gmail to ChatGPT and you say, can you summarize my last 5 emails? It's either going to say, I can't do that, or it's going to make something up, which is called a hallucination. You've probably heard about hallucinations at this point. If you ask ChatGPT, hey, can you give me some top performing keywords for my roof repair company in Napier, Illinois? The problem is ChatGPT doesn't have a connection to a tool that can give you that information. And that's a big issue because it's probably just going to lie to you. Or it's going to do a search, and some SEO companies have put some of this data out there and they can use that. If you're telling it, hey, look up articles that have this information and pull that in. But then you're trusting that source. Hopefully it's good. And you're also having to make sure that the search is grounded in real results. Now you can actually do this yourself. And by the way, if you want to see me make a video on this, drop a comment below and I'll show you how you can do this. But if you go into one of these SEO tools, you get the keyword data and you ask it to kind of help you with that keyword research process, because it can be time consuming. I can help you with that. But I can't tell you how many LinkedIn posts I've seen where here's the SEO hack you need. Go into ChatGPT and ask it for your top keywords. From there, create a content strategy. Then create an N8N automation to put out 2 blogs per day and you'll win the AI search game. Drop the comment AI slot below and we'll make sure that we totally tarnish your trust with your customers. But you get it, like you have to have real data. I'm not saying to not use AI tools. In fact, we use AI tools all the time in our SEO agency because we want to stay ahead. We're able to use these as shortcuts so we can provide better services more efficiently. But we don't do it by relying on fake data. We feed the real data into there and we say, hey, help us cluster these keywords. And the way we do that is we pre-filter the data because we know what are bad keywords already. And then once it has that data, we can ask it questions like, hey, can you cluster this? Or do you notice any patterns and things like that? And we might build a custom GPT that helps us build a service page that's optimized for that that keyword, but it's already trained on data that we've learned by doing this for years. And so that's what really matters when it comes to using AI for SEO, just making sure that you have the right data when you're talking to these tools. But hey, if you've cracked the code and you figured something out, please drop a comment below, because I'd love to have a conversation and learn more stuff, because I know people are learning new ways to use these AI tools all the time. So drop that comment below, and we'll definitely be making more videos about how you can leverage AI in a smart way with SEO. So be sure to stay subscribed to the channel, because you don't want to miss those videos. Let's move on to lesson 3. You want to fish where your fish are. And that means you want to start on Google. Even with all the talk about AEO, GEO, LMNO, PEO, whatever you want to call it, sure, people are using AI search more and more. I have been using ChatGPT search a lot. But when it comes to home service providers, over 90% of searches are still showing up on Google. And that means there's a couple slots. And there's only a couple slots of real estate we need to worry about. The first is local service ads. The next are the sponsor results, those weird collapsible results now. The next might be AI overviews, and then the map pack, and then the organic results. You might think, damn, with all those paid ads and that AI overview, it kind of doesn't feel like SEO matters anymore. But that's simply not the case. I encourage you, I implore you to go run a search for your service, city, state keyword and see what shows up. You have to check the SERPs. SERP stands for Search Engine Result Page, by the way. You have to look at these things and see what's actually showing up. For most home service providers, there is not an AI overview right now. That's not always the case, especially if you add stuff like best, but I encourage you to check. When you check, you might see local service ads. Not every industry qualifies for local service ads. These are pay-per-call, and they get about a 3% click-through rate. So about 3 out of 100 people that search that keyword will stop right there, make a phone call, and work with somebody there. Those cost about $50 per lead. I'm actually gonna do a video on ads very soon, so I won't talk anymore about that. Again, make sure you subscribe so you can see that video. The next spot is the sponsored results, and that has about a 2% click-through rate. You know, everybody knows what Google ads are at this point. Again, I'm gonna have a video where I talk more about ads later, kind of the pros and cons to that. There are a lot of benefits to running ads. But based on some data, it's a little old, but based on the best data we have, about 5% of people will stop on the paid ads and 95% will continue below. Now, when an AI overview shows up, and we have clients that show up in the AI overviews, and we'd love to see that, it's nice to see your brand mentioned. Now, a lot of people on the internet that are doing normal SEO, which is called national SEO, which is targeting informational queries, which are like questions and having blog posts tied behind that. They're losing to AI overviews because people are getting those questions they're asking answered by the AI summary. But if you provide mini splits for people's ADUs, like what the hell is AI going to do about that? You know, they still have to work with you, right? They still have to work with somebody. And so even if there's an AI overview that says, here's some of the top businesses and here's why, which is mostly what the local AI overviews look like when they do show up, they still have to click through to a page. They still have to get a quote. So we want to show up there. How do we show up there? Well, the things that work for AI overviews for our clients that are showing up in that are generally the things that work for local SEO. So we don't need to worry too much. Now, if you are more curious about AI search and want to dig into some of those advances, we actually have an AI search crash course, which is pretty cool. It has a couple hours of content. It's completely free. You just got to give us your email. We'll link that below in the description. So be sure to check that out. Just look for AI search crash course down there and you'll find that really easy. But again, these AI overviews are not showing up for a lot of local searches. And so once those 5% of people get past the ads, a lot of times they're still looking at the map pack, and about half of searches end right there. I've said this time and time again, but I will say it one more time. All of our clients that are showing up in the map pack are getting results and they're starting to crush it. And one of the biggest hindrance is your location. If you're in the city next to where you want to rank, it's almost a guarantee that you'll never show up there. You can kind of spread those pins out. If you know what I'm talking about geogrids, right? They show you the little results all over the city. You could have some influence over that, but proximity to the searcher is a top ranking factor, and it's very hard to overcome. So you need to be realistic. But even with that, people still click on the blue links in 2025. Like people get their minds blown. Like people don't click the blue links. Yes, all the time people click blue links and they click the contact button and they fill out the contact form and they work with their local contractors. So you still want to be showing up in the organic search results. And oh, by the way, the work you're doing for that is going to help your GBP. It's going to help in AI overviews. And so you want to do it anyway. And so where are your customers fishing today? It's still Google. And by the way, the stuff you're doing for your website is going to help it show up in the search engines, which are on the back end of the other AI search tools. So you got to be working on your website, which means you got to be doing local SEO. The playbook has changed, but not a lot. And here's a video where I talk a little bit more about that. You should bookmark that video, watch the rest of this, and then watch it afterward. So let's move on to lesson number 4. SEO is still about keywords. Okay, I know lesson 1 was all about intent. We want to match the intent of the searcher. And now I'm saying, but you still got to say your keywords, but not that much. And this is why people think local SEO is hard. They say, well, wait a minute. On one hand, you're telling me that the keywords don't matter like they used to. And then on the other hand, you're saying that they still matter. Well, they do. All SEO comes down to 2 things: relevancy and authority. Relevancy in local SEO is telling Google what you do and where you do it. If you repair garage doors in Billings, Montana, you better say garage door repair, and you better say Billings, Montana. And you should say it in your SEO hotspots, which is your SEO title, your meta description, your permalink, unless it's your homepage, you don't have to put it there, and your H1, which is that first header on the page. Now from there, we got to remember that Google is not an exact match search engine anymore. It is a semantic search engine. And so our mission for the rest of the page is to continue to tell Google, yes, we do garage door repairs in Billings, Montana, but we don't have to keep saying garage door repair Billings, Montana, garage door repair Billings, Montana. And it might be nice to sneak it into some of the body text, maybe even including near me in there somewhere, because that's a nice little hack. But after that, it's more about telling a story. Now I have our perfect on-page SEO strategy video here. You should definitely check that one out, where we talk about StoryBrand, which is a marketing framework, which is a great way to structure any service page. And I talk about how we do it for local SEO. But the key is to take almost a narrative approach where you are positioning the potential customer as the hero of the journey and you are the guy. You can talk about the pain points. You could highlight project success stories, and you can have featured testimonials. And by doing just these three things, you're able to very naturally talk about the service you provide and the location you provided in. You see what I'm talking about here? This is not exact match. This is semantic. We are saying those related keywords and we're matching the intent. They were looking for a garage door repair company in their area, which happens to be Billings in this example. And you have delivered the results. But I said there's two things that matter for SEO. One is relevancy, which is what we just talked about. The other is authority, which has to do with backlinks, which we're not going to talk about in this video, but we have plenty of videos where we talk about backlinks on this channel. So go ahead, look around at some of our other videos and we'll help you out there. And so that's the key. These service pages are your money pages. These service pages, which you'll duplicate into location pages to target your geographic area that you serve, are your money pages. This is how you're going to drive revenue for your business. So make sure you're matching the intent. Say the keywords the right amount, which by the way is about 1 to 2% of the page content, and then just match the intent with the rest of it. Tell some stories on the page. It's a nice way to naturally put in those keywords. Have a featured project, a couple featured testimonials. It's amazing how easily you can match the intent bar. And again, authority is the long-term thing. We talk about that in other videos. But enough about that. Let's jump into lesson 5. Most local SEO advice is stuck in 2018. Now, I want to say some caveats here. When I watch a lot of local SEO channels on YouTube right now, there's a ton of great advice. Like if people would just follow the advice that's on local SEO YouTube, you'll be fine. A lot of people are talking about exactly what I just talked about. You need to match intent. You need to have service pages that target what you do and where you do it. You need to duplicate the strategy in all the locations you serve. You need to internally link all these pages so Google can see that it's well put together. And of course, you need a good user experience. So it's easy for people to navigate the page and to book a quote or whatever they need to do to work with you. And it helps if your website doesn't suck. I probably should mention that too. But time and time again, I meet with people or our agency starts working with a company that has been doing SEO sometimes for years with another agency. And I see the strategy that they implemented and I am dumbfounded that that's a strategy that they were doing in 2023, 2024, 2025. Like, what the heck? And I'll tell you what the strategy is. They're leading with blogs. Okay, now here's the thing. Let's go back to 2018. In 2018, I wasn't doing local SEO, but from what I can tell at that time, it made sense to write more content. And there's this concept that maybe it was never true, but it was this concept of topical authority. If you kept talking about the concept of house painting in Albany, New York, and you just had all these articles that talked about, the right types of paint for the weather conditions in winter, as well as in the summer, and, the different types of surfaces for siding and things like that. I don't know, are there different surface sidings? Anyway, if you have all these blogs, Google's gonna be like, oh, these guys are an expert at house painting in Albany. I'm going to show them first. But the lie that a lot of people don't tell you is that authority has always been really important. Backlinks, which is what authority is what actually gets you to rank. It's been that way for years. People manipulated that, so they've had to continue to get more sophisticated. That's why there's no set in stone playbook that we all follow. But each agency should have a strategy related to backlinks so they're building authority for you over time in a natural way, not in an unnatural way. And that's what's going to get you to rank with the big dogs in your area because you want to take them down. I mean, you provide a better service than them. And so you want to show up with them and hopefully grow your business, right? That's why you got into this in the first place, isn't it? But topical authority doesn't matter anymore. But I think the concept of topical authority is not only non-existent, it's actually harmful nowadays. Let me tell you some stories. We have 2 companies that we've taken on recently, and both of these are well-established businesses. They both make millions of dollars a year. And their last SEO companies, 2 separate companies that, both were very big companies, were doing a blog first strategy. And the problem is if I actually look at roofing, city, state, if I actually look at decks, city, state, What I tend to see is, yeah, the service pages may be ranking okay, but I also see a blog post. Sometimes it's the reverse. A blog post is ranking above the service page, and they both seem to be weighed down. So even though both these businesses have authority, because they were doing a decent job of building authority, both of these agencies were, they were shooting themselves in the foot by writing blog after blog about the same topic and weighing these pages down. And again, for the example where the blog is ranking higher than the service page, that's not matching the user's intent. Google served that up because they're like, well, this is the best page these guys have, and they have a ton of authority, so I'm going to serve up this page. But when you get to a blog that's talking about what's the best type of paint, and you're like, wait a minute, that's not what I want, you're going to hit the back button. And by the way, we learned from those leaks last year that Google's been tracking us in Chrome for all these years. And so if you keep having people click the back button, what do you think that's going to do to your ranking? Can blogs be helpful? I think they can. But the key is that you want to start with your money pages. Now, actually lay out exactly how I think blogs can be helpful in this video, where I talk a lot of crap about blogs and the people that still use blog first strategies in their agencies. And at the very end of that video, I explain how we use blogs in our agency, which is usually a later in the process type of strategy. So if you're curious to see how that works, check out that video. Look, if there's one thing that you take away from this video, it's that local SEO isn't that hard. It's just misunderstood. Most contractors are failing because they're chasing outdated tactics. They're stuffing keywords. They're not matching intent with the right type of pages, and they're using AI to help them when they're not serving AI the right type of data. But if you focus on the 5 lessons that I've laid out in this video, not only will you start getting results, but you'll start getting results faster. Look, if you like laying down trim way more than thinking about your marketing, then you should probably stop worrying about this stuff. You should check out the first link in the description, get a free SEO strategy for your business. What you can do in there is there's a little spot where you can just give me some hints. Maybe you're working with a company right now and you're not sure if they're doing the right thing. Maybe you're questioning their blog first strategy. Leave those notes in there. It takes like 3 minutes to fill the form out. And then me or one of my team members will send back a little video that'll hopefully level up your local SEO. Local SEO isn't hard. It's just misunderstood. Once you understand the importance of matching intent, once you understand the importance of having the right tools and feeding it the right data, and once you understand the right process that works today, it can actually kind of be predictable. Look, I know a lot of contractors are working with SEO agencies that are using the blog first strategy still. Go watch that video. Understand why blogs don't rank for your money keywords, what you should do instead, and I'll catch you in that one.